people understandably in some cases want to call something out as racist or white supremacist and not say that the person doing it is a racist, right? So they'll say that's a racist comment, but they don't want to say the person's a racist. And I just want to understand with Congresswoman Omar, it's clear what you're saying is that some of the things she has said have been clearly anti-Semitic, but you just don't want to level the charge anti-Semite at her.
Well, I'm hoping that she'll grow and she'll change. I'm hoping some people change their beliefs. I'm hoping she'll change hers.
Good evening, I'm Erin Burnett. Out front tonight, Trump says no, refusing to hand over documents. We are learning tonight that the White House is finalizing plans to fight back against the Democrats who have put sweeping requests out for documents. The White House wants to limit what they're going to give up. The top White House lawyer already rejecting Democrats' requests for information about Jared Kushner's security clearance, sending the chairman of the Oversight Committee this letter, which slams Democrats for, quote, overly intrusive document requests. That, of course, after the president, according to the New York Times, lied about not overruling the intelligence community to give Kushner that request. And the president tonight is not hiding his anger and frustration at the document requests.
I guess we got 81 letters. There was no collusion. There was a hoax. There was no anything. And they want to do that instead of getting legislation passed. 81 people or organizations got letters. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace to our country. I'm not surprised that it's happening. The people understand it. When they look at it, they just say presidential harassment.
Presidential harassment. The president tweeting those exact same words later today. And some Republicans are leaping to his defense. Senator Lindsey Graham, who I guess it's important to reference back in the day made the case to impeach President Bill Clinton, is now telling CNN that the president believes he's referring to Democrats, are out to take a wrecking ball to his life as Graham defends him. The president and his team's refusal to cooperate, though, most when you look at hypocrisy here, flies in the face of the president's own words just yesterday.
Mr. President, are you going to cooperate with Mr. Nadler?
I cooperate all the time with everybody.
All the time with everybody. Well, that was yesterday, and today is today. Tonight, according to a Democratic leadership aide, we have some new numbers. Since Democrats took over the House, there have been 6 refusals from the Trump administration to appear before House committees, 30 refusals to respond or stalls on document requests, and of course, now the White House trying to point blank not give over documents. It all comes as, according to a new Quinnipiac poll out today, nearly 60% of voters think Congress should do more to investigate Michael Cohen's claims about the president's unethical and illegal behavior. And when it comes to trusting the president, only 30% of Americans say Trump is honest. Abby Phillip begins our coverage out front live outside the White House. And Abby, obviously they are now trying to point blank, refuse, deny, fight. What is going to be the strategy here?
Well, Erin, the scope of Congressman Nadler's request to the White House this week came as a bit of a surprise to White House aides because of how it really touched upon every aspect of the president's life and his presidency. And in response to that, they've come up with a strategy that essentially involves stalling and stonewalling these committees, trying to restrict the number of documents that they hand over, restrict the information that they hand over, especially as it relates to President Trump's conversations as president, and particularly his conversations with his counsel here in the White House. The idea here is to try to exert some kind of executive privilege or confidentiality around some of this information. And the White House also suggested, the president himself suggested today, that they would be looking at President Obama as a model for how to do this. The president suggested President Obama didn't respond with a single letter to Congress when they requested it. That's not exactly true, but the Obama administration did similarly try to restrict the scope of how they would go forward with responding to some of these requests. And that's what the White House is looking at now. How much they'll actually be able to do is yet to be determined. I think the lawyers are going to have to really take a fine-tooth comb to all of this and figure out where they can thread the needle and figure out where they can hold back when it comes to some of these requests, Erin.
All right, Abby, thank you very much. And I want to go out front now to the chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Democratic Congressman Eliot Engel, in the midst of all of this. Chairman, I appreciate your time tonight. I mean, look, the president today, says, look, these investigations are presidential harassment. Those are the words he's using. And obviously the requests are extraordinarily broad in terms of what they're, documents they're asking for, people and organizations they are requesting information from. Are Democrats in danger, Chairman, of overreaching by making such broad requests?
No, not at all. We are just upholding our end of the Constitution, which says that we have the right to do this, Article 1. And I can just speak for me. I'm not out to get the president. I'm out to get the truth.
You know, obviously I mentioned Lindsey Graham, right, who had back in the day been one of the leaders of the impeachment charge against President Clinton and now singing a very different tune. But he's not alone. There are other Republicans defending the president, Senator John Cornyn among them. He is today.
I think what the Democrats are worried about now is that after all of the hysteria over the alleged collusion, that they're worried the Mueller report will come up with basically nothing against the president as regards collusion. So that's why I think they're launching this full frontal assault, which, well, as I said, is a prelude to impeachment, and will make sure that we can't get anything else done.
Would these investigations, Chairman Engel, be happening if you actually believed Mueller had something on the president, if he had collusion locked down?
I don't think that these investigations are moved one way or another by whatever Mueller has or doesn't have. I know I can say that for me. I think that Mueller will come out with his report. I think the report should be made public. I think the American citizens have the right to know. And we're going to keep doing what we do as an investigatory body of Congress. It's got nothing to do with another.
So I want to ask you, look, you've been, saying you're going for the truth, and you have obviously said impeachment is not your goal in the past, but there are some in your party who are moving aggressively in that direction, some of them in Congress. Democratic Congresswoman Maxine Waters today tweeted, "For the faint of heart who've been waiting for every T to be crossed and every I to be dotted, now is the time to demonstrate your patriotism, support impeachment." I guess she's referring to people like you, those faint of heart. What do you say, Chairman, to her?
Well, I think impeachment is premature. I don't think that we should be doing anything that simply works up to impeachment. I think that we should be doing things because we care about the Republic, and I think impeachment is the farthest thing from my mind. I mean, first of all, it's not a matter of just impeachment. It would be a matter of impeachment or conviction, and we're nowhere near that. So I think we should not waste our time right now talking about what may or may not happen down the road, but we should do our job in terms of investigating. And that's what every Congress is supposed to do to the executive branch.
And you are investigating or requesting, right, along with the chairman of the Intelligence and Oversight Committees, you've sent letters to the White House requesting detailed information on communications between President Trump and Vladimir Putin. You want the documents, you want the interviews with knowledge of the context, right, translators. Do you think you're going to get everything you want? Have they responded?
Well, we haven't gotten a response yet. I would hope that we get a response. Look, it's been several months, a long time since Helsinki, when Putin and Trump met. We still don't know what went on there. There's all kinds of conflicting reports about documents being shredded or torn up, or the interpreters are the only ones that were in the room with Putin and Trump. We don't know. We want to know the truth. That's all we're looking to find out.
All right, I want to ask you about another big story tonight that you're in the center of. You helped draft a resolution condemning anti-Semitism after some more controversial comments from the freshman Congressman Ilhan Omar, who is one of 2 Muslim women now in Congress. And just so our viewers understand the whole story, because it is a very significant one, here's Suzanne Malveaux.
I know how it feels to be hated because of my religious beliefs. I am proof that as Americans, we can embrace our differences.
Freshman Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, sworn into office just 2 months ago, now facing an extraordinary public admonishment from her own party for several controversial comments about Israel's supporters and American politics.
Her remarks were reprehensible.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to take the floor with some other top Democrats with a resolution, which does not mention Omar by name, acknowledges the dangerous consequences of perpetuating anti-Semitic stereotypes, and rejects anti-Semitism as hateful expressions of intolerance. The most recent issue for many of her fellow Democrats, Omar's remark criticizing Israel at this town hall last week.
I want to talk about the political influence in this country that says it is okay for people to push for allegiance to a foreign country.
The ADL and some Jewish lawmakers strongly denouncing her comments as anti-Semitic. President Trump seizing on her past comments.
And Congressman Omar is terrible what she said. And I think she should either resign from Congress or she should certainly resign from the House Foreign Affairs Committee.
Omar fighting back, tweeting, "I am told every day that I am anti-American if I'm not pro-Israel. I find that to be problematic, and I am not alone. I just happen to be willing to speak up on it and open myself to attacks." It's not the first time Omar's comments have generated controversy. Last month, Pelosi called Omar's tweets deeply offensive after Omar described the impact of pro-Israel lobbyists in the U.S. as all about the Benjamins, baby. Omar later apologized, saying, "Anti-Semitism is real, and I am grateful for Jewish allies and colleagues who are educating me on the painful history of anti-Semitic tropes. This is why I unequivocally apologize."
And I just want to make sure everyone had the full story there, Chairman. So obviously, you know, you've written this resolution. You do not name her in the resolution by name, but it's clearly aimed at her, just like the resolution about Steve King and white supremacy was aimed at him, even though he wasn't mentioned. Congresswoman Omar has a pattern of similar comments. Do you think she is an anti-Semite?
I don't throw names around. I think the remarks she's made have been very troubling. I've spoken out very publicly and forcefully about it and saying that she should apologize. Look, you hope that people get elected to office and they grow. I would hope the same thing would happen to her, but I'm not going to sit silent as long as there are people who are yelling out anti-Semitic tropes, or anti-anything tropes, by the way. I'm opposed to Islamophobia. I'm opposed to hatred of any group. So I certainly am not going to be quiet when there's anti-Semitism. I've fought against anti-Semitism my whole life.
And I want to ask you, when you mention Islamophobia, there is talk tonight that you may add language into this. So it isn't just about condemning anti-Semitism. It'd also be condemning Islamophobia or anti-Muslim bias. Are you going to add that wording in, or are you going to keep this specifically to anti-Semitism?
Well, first of all, it's not up to me. The leadership has been looking at it, and a whole bunch of people have put their imprint on it and have said what we think would happen. So I think a lot of things are still being decided as we are talking now.
And I know, when we talk about white supremacy, people understandably in some cases want to call something out as racist or white supremacist and not say that the person doing it is a racist, right? So they'll say that's a racist comment, but they don't want to say the person's a racist. And I just want to understand with Congresswoman Omar, it's clear what you're saying is that some of the things she has said have been clearly anti-Semitic, but you just don't want to level the charge anti-Semite at her.
Well, I'm hoping that she'll grow and she'll change. I'm hoping some people change their beliefs. I'm hoping she'll change hers. I think what she said was wrong and hurtful. I think she should understand that. And I've been very vocal about it. And I feel very, again, strongly, certainly against anti-Semitism. But I think these tropes are not to be washed away. And the same thing, again, for anti-anything. We need to have discussions here in Washington, not on the basis of race or religion or national origin, but on what's best for the American people.
You're the chairman of a really important committee, right? Foreign Affairs. This is the center of a lot, and it's certainly the center of this discussion about Israel. At what point do you say to her, Congresswoman Omar, look, you're not on this committee anymore. You strip her of your seat. Are you close to that, or at that point?
No, I'm not close to it. First of all, it's not up to me. This is done by the leadership. I don't know that would do anything except exacerbate the situation even more. I'm looking to get rid of anti-Semitism, not looking to punish anybody. I think that it's very important that we keep our eye on the prize. And I think that whenever there is hatred being spewed, or again, racism, anti-Semitism, homophobia, Islamophobia, I think we have to speak out, and that's what I'm doing here.
All right. Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you.
And now